Hello. Who is this? Hello.
Well, I got your letter and was giving you a call about it regarding Julie Hammond and her supervisor, Mel Urban.
Yes.
And so I met with them earlier this week and kind of got the procedural history of the case and referenced some of the stuff that was in your letter. And so I think that I'm fairly prepared to talk about it. But I guess fundamentally what it boils down to is my understanding is that the initial assigned judge, entered interim findings, custody findings a couple of years ago. Maybe was it 2002?
2023.
23, and that those have been in effect now for a couple of years.
And I have been actively fighting it this entire time because of the actions of Miss Hammond.
Okay. Did you raise those concerns with the court?
Yes, I have, repeatedly. And we now have cases with the Supreme Court and the federal court.
Okay, I didn't know about the federal court. I did know that it had been taken, do you know if the Supreme Court, what the timeline is on their ruling, or what when might come down?
They are supposed to have responses to the court by Monday.
Okay, all right. So,
and then the federal court accepted the case as of 2 weeks ago, I believe. They assigned a case number.
Got it. So there's ongoing litigation at the Supreme Court level and at the federal level.
Yes, there is. Civil rights violations are a very real thing. Domestic violence is a very real thing.
Sure. Well, it sounds like the judge has heard your complaints about Ms. Hammond. I listened to Ms. Hammond, and she told me her side of things. I read your side of things, and I guess I don't see a reason at this point to remove her from the case.
Well,
I think if you're going to make that application, it needs to occur in court, and to be supported, but it sounds like you've already made that application.
Yep, and I will continue to fight it.
Okay.
My children are being hurt, and I have a very big problem with it.
I understand.
Especially since Miss Hammond knows about that.
No, Miss Hammond knows that my ex-husband attacked our daughter Ariana in the elevator of North Star Residential Treatment Facility, and then she filed a restraining order for me being able to get a hold of those medical records to prove the ongoing domestic violence with my ex-husband. I have a very, very real problem with places that are offices and officials who have sworn an oath to protect the children and the Constitution, and they violate those by continuing to ignore what the children they have literally been brought in to see. Miss Hammond has witnessed firsthand what we have been living with for 20 years now. And this is why the domestic violence rates in the state, in the country, and in the world will never go down because of corrupt officials like Julie Hammond.
I don't recall that allegation being in the letter that you wrote. And
I just found out about it Monday when my niece saw my daughter in Anchorage. And my daughter told my niece what was going on. I have a very real problem. This is after my daughter called me at 12:36 in the morning, January 5th, with an ongoing domestic violence within the home with Mr. Tennant, and then posted a very, very detailed public social media post about it, which I found and I raised concerns about. And then in March, there was a physical altercation between Mr. Tennant and Ariana that landed Ariana in North Star again, and Julie Hammond has refused to update me on anything since March 28th on Ariana. And Ariana is now in a group home where she feels abandoned. She refers to herself as homeless, and she has stated that Julie Hammond does nothing to help her and is very much in her father's pocket. So I have a very real problem with my children continuing to speak up and continuing to get shut up because they're not being heard. This is a very real problem.
my understanding is that Ariana didn't want to return. I mean, based on what Julie told me, to live with either you or the father.
Because Julie Hammond stopped the ability to have familial contact whatsoever prior to the trial in December of 2022,
which she had no
she has had no legal right to do, but she did, and I have it on recorded calls with Alaska Child and Families Maplewood facility staff, and I have reported it to the court, and this is why there is now a federal court case.
Okay. Well, I'll follow up with Ms. Hammond, and it sounds like you've got, as mentioned, ongoing litigation at the Supreme Court level and at the federal level.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to know what you guys are doing, because I know for a fact I'm not the only family hurt. I have had 6 other families speak up to me since I have been speaking out, with very similar circumstances, and I am hoping and praying every single one of them file their complaints too, and keep track of them, and take them to the Supreme and federal levels.
Well, that's why those appellate courts and the federal courts exist, for continued oversight. All right, ma'am. Well, I think I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and send me the letter. I'll follow up with Ms. Hammond.
Thank you.
Thank you.